Okran. How are you?
Very well, Eagle. And how are you doing?
Very well, thank you too. By the grace of God, I'm very well, thanks.
Excellent. So, Eagle, we are looking at 4 thematic areas for the year. I know that we'll definitely settle on career, which is your area of greatest interest. But as we talk about preparing for the future, we are considering 4 thematic areas: career or professional development, finance, assets or property acquisition, and then health. Why are these 4 areas important from your perspective as a practitioner?
Well, thanks for the time to speak on air this evening, and I'd say that the 4 of them are actually interlinked in one way or the other. First of all, without a good health, you can't even have a career. So whether you choose to have a business career as an entrepreneur or to work for somebody else as an employee, without good health, you cannot have a good career. Secondly, your career will give you the finances to be able to manage your life, for you to be able to acquire property or other assets. So in one way or the other, all these 4 different areas that you've mentioned are linked and are very relevant in anybody's life.
Give us an idea about, not necessarily with numbers, but in general terms, about the cost to organizational productivity of having staff who are not in good health, or who, by virtue of choices that they have made, are dealing with lifestyle-related diseases.
I like the emphasis on lifestyle-related diseases. So let's take the most common one that we don't talk about very openly, and that's drug abuse. Drug abuse is one area that really costs a lot of organizations. So you have somebody on the job who is not necessarily deliberate about taking drugs, but out of, say, for example, depression, they get hooked on a certain prescription which has not been given by a doctor, but they can buy off the counter in a country like Ghana. They get hooked, eventually productivity goes down, and first thing is we're paying for medical bills, and there is no limit to somebody's health when it comes to paying medical bills in responsible companies. Second point is absenteeism. You calculate absenteeism based on the products or the services that are delivered per hour of that individual. So if you calculate all these roughly in a year, you can spend a minimum of 100 to 200,000 cedis on somebody's health or the cost of absenteeism. Assuming they're off work for about 3 months and they're earning, say, 80,000 Ghana cedis or 90,000 Ghana cedis, that's already about 30,000 Ghana cedis in cost of absenteeism. And then you have to pay somebody else to do their job. So that's another cost of about 30,000 again. So it becomes more complicated, more complex as you look at the various parameters to take off. One, you replace the person on the job while still trying to get them back on track, because you don't just terminate appointments due to ill health. There's a procedure, there's legal framework as to how many months they can be off before you finally, taper down the exit of that person if they're not recovering. Secondly, depending on the company policy, you may want to put them through a real health, rebounds for them to come back and then work fully. So if you talk about drugs, that's probably that one approach. But other health implications of, for example, just any health hazard like a contagious disease that has been acquired by the person, or for lack of taking care of themselves, they are going through other health challenges. The medical bill of that is also a similar amount. And in all of this, the cost of replacing them in the time that they are healing is another cost that we have to consider. So about 100 to 200,000 is a minimum we consider for such health cases.
Let's settle on your area of greatest interest, which is career professional development. I mean, help us to appreciate the various stages of a person's career, because our listeners, the scope of our listeners runs through different demographic brackets. There's probably somebody who just finished school,
exactly,
excited about learning how to lay the foundation, but there's somebody who's preparing for retirement also.
Exactly.
Help us appreciate the various stages of one's career, and also the kind of preparation or the kind of requirements that stage brings on the individual.
So if we take the person who's just finished school, for example, to the age of retirement, give or take, we're talking between 35 to 40 years in terms of number of years that you'd have to build a career. Now, unfortunately, most of the time when people finish national service or they come out of vocational training school, they end up jumping into jobs because of unemployment. So there are a lot of people in this country and even globally who are doing jobs, not pursuing careers. The difference between having a job and a career are very vast. A job can be your career, but not every job can lead to your career. So we have to be very purposeful and intentional about the choice of a career, and then build a plan to achieve that career within the 35 to 40 year plan or timeline that we have from finishing school through to retirement. I like the point that Brother Amos made around building a plan of sorts and having SMART goals. And he mentioned being relentless in execution. I would even say relentless, flawless execution, where there's constant monitoring and then making sure that where we slip off, we come back on track, we, follow through the plan. So from that period, when you finish school to the end of your career, there's a part that we call mid-career in a person's life. So that's about 5 years after you have finished school. So after 5 years of university or higher education, the first 5 years is you're learning on the job, you're getting the foundation of your job or your career. The next 30 odd years going up is dedicated to building your career. And most of us need to begin to introspect as we go along. Are we actually following our career? Are we following our dream? There is nothing wrong with coming back to repairing or revisiting going off track because you sought a job versus building a career. Having a career has several dimensions to it. For example, the skills that are relevant in that job. There are some skills relevant in that career, and there are skills that are relevant based on the evolution of our current world. If you look at the World Economic Forum that was published, the publication that they did in 2015, they projected some skills that were relevant. And they do this every 5 years. And the last time I spoke about this at the public forum, I actually challenged the type of assessment that are done before these are published. 2015, they came up with 10 top skills that were relevant to be relevant in 2015. Complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, blah, blah, blah. And they repeated the same in 2020, which means in this year, we need similar skills, but we need to have more cognitive flexibility and emotional intelligence. The question now is, these are the two new skills that are coming in the landscape of career. While thinking about how we are developing our professional acumen in the various choices that we have, how flexible are we cognitively? And how emotionally intelligent are we at the moment? These are things we have to constantly measure. Thirdly, agility and pace. The world is moving at an extra high speed. We cannot remain relevant if we continue doing the things we did 5 years ago at the same pace. As an individual, even if you have...
Let me cut into your presentation and ask you a big question that is very pertinent to the discussion. You've highlighted the fact that you can be pursuing a job because that's what's available. But ideally, you should be pursuing a career. And the job can be your career, but it's not necessarily, or it doesn't necessarily lead to your career. I think that for the benefit of our listeners, just so there can be clarity. I know these are teams that will settle down to explore. You're one of the resource persons that we look forward to having on the show. But just for today's preliminary discussion, could you just help us to appreciate what makes something a career and not just a job?
Okay. So a career gives fulfillment. A job gives just a salary. So fulfillment is both a salary, something you love to do, that's your passion, your hobby, you thrive, you're innovative, you're creative, you think differently, you look forward to going to that particular work every day. If you have a job, it's like a mundane task. You're doing it for just the survival of it, and therefore the passion is very minimal. The creative juices to be innovative are literally absent, and the opportunity to grow and be able to have a path is also limited. For a career, you can actually see the evolution of a career. Take a salesperson. So somebody finishes the first degree and starts in a sales job. They're a sales executive, they're a sales officer, starting at that level. They can evolve to become a sales director of a particular country, of a particular business, or even a particular region. So there's a growth path in sales that you can have, because there are various dimensions to sales, whether it is field sales or it's customer marketing. There are various dimensions that a person can chart their career through. In a job, you don't have that. Besides, if a person is thrown into a... Yes, sir.
Right, so this is exactly why you definitely back in the studio fast to break this topic down, but I think there's something what I've learned from you tonight. Okay. The first 5 years of one's career post-national service or whatever is typically a time of learning on the job, and then we start a 30-year period you call mid-career, which is where you really build your career. And you're seeing that in that period, you took time to look at the World Economic Forum report and isolated the latest additions to the substance required, particularly cognitive flexibility rounded up by saying that if you are comparing a career versus a job is for the salary is mundane, survival oriented, and there's no passion. But a career has fulfillment, innovation, drive, a growth path is clear, and you can build step by step all the way to the top. Even a big thank you to you for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Ref, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
All right, so this is Springboard Adventure